It's showtime.
Hey guys, Django Fett here, hunting down games, comics, TV shows, movies, and more, and today we're going to be reviewing the controversial Predator 2 film. So, back in the day, I remember actually enjoying this film quite a lot. I'm not going to say it was better than Predator 1 by any means, but I remember enjoying it. So I ended up rewatching it, watching the behind the scenes, and we'll give you guys the insight of what went into Predator 2, give you guys a little bit of background into the movie itself and how it came to be, how it became so controversial, and give you guys more of my thoughts going into the movie. For now, I will say that it's not as bad as people say it is, but it's not as good as I thought it would be at the same time. So let's get into the review right now. So Predator 2 came out in 1990 and directed by Stephen Hopkins, who has had a very mixed career. Now, Stephen Hopkins did this movie, Predator 2, as well as The Ghost in the Darkness, which I like that movie. A really bad movie in Lost in Space, and other stuff. So he's had a pretty inconsistent career. And it's written by the same writers who did Predator 1. The music is done by Alan Silvestri, but I gotta be honest, it's all pretty much the same from Predator 1. They don't really change much at all, and it's very lazy. I don't know what they were thinking with that. They just borrowed the same soundtrack from Predator 1 into Predator 2. That's pretty much it. So the movie starts with the thermal vision in the city, with Predator in the city, which I think is a great concept. And it's like a city war zone in LA, and it's just insane stuff. I've never seen stuff like this. There's gangsters with rifles and rocket launchers going up against cops, and it's pretty chaotic stuff. And then we have Danny Glover coming in, who plays as Michael Harrison. I've always liked Danny Glover, and he's been great in the Lethal Weapon series, so I've always had a fond appreciation of him. For the sake of this review, I'm just going to call him Danny Glover. Going to call him Danny, because I don't even remember his character. So Danny comes in with a giant revolver, and he's kind of like this vigilante cop who wants to do things his way because people can't get shit done. These gangsters then retreat, and they are fully loaded with an insane amount of weaponry, which is pretty crazy. Like, no cops have ever stood by and infiltrated them or anything like that. They have an insane amount of weapons, and they are ambushed by the Predator. And then we see the Predator in his cloak, and right away. So it's not like it took some time. It was kind of like after like 10 minutes, which is kind of weird compared to the other movie. It took some time before you get to that point. And I didn't even realize this, but Bill Paxton is in this. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton. I had no idea. I always thought he was in Aliens and that's it, but he's in Predator 2. I was just really shocked by that. And he kind of played like his same character from Aliens, where he's attracted to this Latino girl who is a tough chick at the same time, just like Aliens. And he's like this kind of douchebag type of character, just like Aliens. And I'll get to the characters a little bit later. So later on, the Jamaicans kidnap this Spanish leader. They kill him, and Predator arrives. And you see him use a whole new set of weapons. The spear, the net, and like this disc thing. And it's really cool stuff. And then he displays the skinned bodies just like in Predator 1. So the cops show up first, and then the DEA, who is headed by Gary Busey, are pissed off because these cops respond to a call, so they don't understand why cops are here even though this is their zone, and they're like pissed off with the cops. So it was pretty stupid. And they reveal one of the DEA agents, Danny knows him for some reason, which we don't even know. This is the first time we see him, and this is the first time I think Danny's seen him. So one of Danny's friends, the other cop, he goes back to the scene of the crime and gets killed by the Predator. Then the cops find out literally the next scene with piss poor setup. How did they find out that fast? Like, literally in the next scene, they find out, oh, your guy dies, and then you're to blame, and just like, what the heck is going on? Then as Danny is going rogue over this whole situation with his friend's death, he decides to make friends with the Jamaicans, who are also this other crime organization. Of course, the Jamaicans are portrayed as this Rastafarians, and he meet with King Willie. And they said that, oh, this voodoo magic shit, and it has to do with most of this, and gets nothing from him, pretty much. And as soon as he leaves, King Willie is face to face with the Predator in what could have been a cool scene. And then the Predator arrives and he just gets his head chopped off and you see him grab his head and then just this scream in the background. Now they did show off some behind the scenes where the Predator is walking through the water, and I thought that was pretty cool. And they executed it pretty well. I actually liked that scene. Then the Predator attacks this train with Bill Paxton and the Latino girl, full of gangsters. So pretty much lighting is just flashing with the Predator coming in and out. I thought that was a really messy action sequence. It's better than AVP Requiem, where everything is fucking dark as shit and it's just everything is just god awful. I think it's the first of its kind almost. It's not a very coherent scene. And then you see Bill die and it's like whatever. And other than Danny Glover, everyone is bad and forgettable. All of these characters, there's literally no development. They just come in and then come out the next sequence and really don't add anything to the story and don't have anything memorable to show with it. Bill Paxton, nothing to his character, absolutely nothing. A shell of his former self compared to in Aliens, which is a damn shame. And then we move on to one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie. And I loved it, man. That was so fucking hilarious. Then Danny chases the Predator and is caught by the DEA. And then they tell him they have a plan to capture the Predator. And they reveal the whole events that happen in Predator 1. And they think that if they capture him, it will reveal his secrets and all this other stuff. And they try to set up an ambush, but it's revealed that the Predator has alternate vision modes other than terminal vision. And the Predator pretty much kills them all. Danny goes in, suits up to fight it. And then Danny actually severely injures the Predator and decides to open the mask, and it's a whole new redesign. He says, "You're one ugly mother," and then it just stops right there. What doesn't make sense is that when his mask is off, it sees in thermal vision, which is in what Predator 1 showed, so it's not clear what is canon. I would assume Predator 1 is canon and Predator 2 isn't, just based on that alone. Then Gary Busey shows up, and he's still alive, and he gets sliced in half. You can see it's an obvious cut to when the blade is coming in towards the dummy body, and it's not done right at all. It's pretty bad, honestly. Most audience members will not notice it, but as somebody who actually participates in editing and sees this stuff and notices it, nowadays, pretty badly executed in that sequence. They then do a showdown on the roof, and when Danny gets to the spear, instead of hitting him, spearing him, he tackles him. And then they're dangling on the roof. Okay, why not? So Predator then just sets up the bomb to blow him up and Danny. But then Danny cuts off his arm and Predator falls and jumps to another building to heal up. And Danny has the brilliant idea to do the same thing instead of just taking the stairs and doing it safely. He goes down a pipe when he's scared of heights and just jumps to where the Predator is. But it's movie logic, so why not? When Predator is healing up in the bathroom with these old people whose bathroom that is, they freak out in a funny moment and try to use a broom to fight it, and then Predator goes out and goes to a ship. For some reason, when they go down this elevator, which leads to the Predator ship, so it's a new showdown that occurs in the ship. And then we see the alien reference with the alien skull and many trophies on the wall. It's honestly a cool connection. It doesn't connect with Alien. When they did the behind the scenes, they just thought it would be cool. I think after Predator 2, they had a spawn of comics and stuff like that, so they elaborated on the Predator lore and how it connected with Aliens, because there was an Aliens vs. Predator series. And that's how we got the movies as well, which was later on down the line, which didn't end up being good at all. And then this fight happened with the Predators, the final showdown. And it's just, here's the thing, most of the action sequences were so average and not as exciting as the first Predator movie. And as soon as the fight ends, other Predators show up with these new little costumes, with this elder taking the body of the dead Predator away and giving Danny a human trophy of a rifle, which was apparently someone who killed the Predator from 1776 or something like that. It's rather unclear. You would think they would give him a Predator trophy, but no, they just give him a human trophy. Why did all the Predators all show up just for that sequence alone? I have no idea. It's kind of stupid, but it is cool at the same time seeing all the different Predators. So it's cool on that standpoint. I just don't get why there was a lot of them waiting for their brother to die. So it's kind of confusing. And why are they all there at the same time? Like, are they all doing their own thing and then coming back? Like, oh, one of our brothers died. Let's come back. And then the predators start their ship, and Danny is forced to leave. And Danny is covered with blood and this white material. It's not cocaine. And as he leaves, Chopper is like pointing its lights toward him, and he walks out. He's covered with this white dust, and it's much like Dutch in Predator 1 as it ends. So let's talk about the behind the scenes for this movie and what came into the movie. So Arnold was originally cast in Predator 1 as Dutch, as a cop, but due to financial differences, Arnold refused the role, so it was end up going to Danny Glover. I'm guessing they were really under budget or had a really, really low budget, and Arnold wanted more, and rightfully so. He should have deserved more. And the Predator ship design is actually based around the Mayan and Aztec culture. And remember all the Predators that came out at the end of the scene for like 5 minutes? It cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for those costumes alone and that sequence alone. It shows they don't care about money nowadays, and should have put more money in the actual story and fixed that instead of a pointless sequence. And some of the basketball members from the Lakers team were actually played as the Predators because Danny was a fan of the Lakers. So they got the Lakers involved. Before Predator 2 actually came out, Predator Concrete Jungle, the comic, came out and set as a sequel to the original Predator. This series was intended to feature Dutch as a cop. However, it was changed to this brother of Dutch and followed by 2 sequels, Cold War and Dark River. Concrete Jungle will become very infamous and even spawned a video game. So let's talk about my overall thoughts of this movie. This movie is all over the place. Everything escalates too fast in this movie, with no rhyme or reason to it. And there's no purpose or timely conviction like it is with Predator 1. Predator was patient and cunning, and when he struck, he hit fast and hard. In Predator 2, he did what he wanted. I just feel like there was like tons of ideas thrown at the screen with no real logic to them, and no real conviction, and driving the story nowhere. It could have been great, but it was just the writers were just must have smoked like tons of fucking weed. Had an incompetent director who has a really not a very good resume. Predator 1 has a very small team, a bunch of commandos, and it has the perfect amount of character development incorporated into it. There's like 5 or 6 members into this movie. But with Predator 2, there's tons of different characters and storylines, and it's unfocused, and it's just too much. It has a far bigger scope, but it doesn't really need to have that. Have 3 or 4 characters with the Predator coming in, but don't have the Predator go in and then attack all these gangsters, and then we have to know all the gangsters as well, and other people, the DEA, and it felt too much. This movie doesn't have enough action sequences at all. Like, there's barely any. With the beginning of the gang war, Jamaicans, then the train, and the ending. That's it. There's not really that many. And the costume designs are cooler than ever. I thought this was some of the best. It's not as iconic as Predator 1, but it's still pretty damn great. And the idea of Predator in a city is a neat and creative idea. Cool action scenes, and Danny Glover was just a cool lead. No, he's no Arnold. Of course, you can't beat Arnold by any means. Yes, we wanted Arnold, but Danny Glover is still a charismatic in his own way, and is still a pretty good lead. And it had a nice ending sequence, which I've always remembered in the past. So I'm giving Predator 2 a... So that was my review for Predator 2. Next up is Predators. But I will not be doing the same way like I've been doing with Predator 1 and 2. It's going to be just seeing me and then talking about the movie itself in a very small manner. Because with Predator 1 and Predator 2, I really wanted to go deep into those movies. Predators, I'm not going to go too much deep into that, but I will talk about it in depth as much as I can with that movie. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to please like this video, comment down below. Let me know what you think of Predator 2 in the comment section below. Please be sure to check out my Predator 1 review. I'll put a link in the description if you can check that out. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.